And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Top Podcast. I'm your host, Harris Sereno, alongside me, co-host Dan Kiley, Kobe Piers. It's been 2 weeks. I think it's been 4 weeks since we had the three of us on one screen. And wherever you are watching us tonight, the boys are back here with another edition of the Top Podcast. Was thrown a little bit off tonight by the countdown music. StreamYard changed it on us. I love the old beat. Can we bring it back? I don't like the new beat. That really threw me off guard. Wasn't expecting that tonight. So, intro to the show, not as normal. But boys, we have a loaded show tonight. We're talking NFL scouting combine, on the road to the NFL draft. But first, how are we doing on this wonderful Wednesday evening?
It's been 10 days since I had a voice at all. So I am probably not going to be talking as much as you guys tonight. So I can make it through this show. But I'm actually really glad to be talking and somebody can hear it.
Yeah, we're doing good. It's been a pretty chill week. The weather is starting to warm up again in Athens. Got some golf in last weekend, which was great. And then, baseball season's here. I've been enjoying that. Diamond Dogs have been playing. And then for our boy Harry, it's spring break, baby.
It is. It's been a wonderful start to spring break. Covered the Diamond Dogs the end of last week. Man, is that offense fun to watch. But, man, that pitching staff, specifically the starting staff, been a little bit of a struggle to start the year. But I think from what it sounds like, they're going to get that under control just very, very early in the year. But, gentlemen, we will have to schedule a baseball talk at another point. We have some NFL scouting combine stuff to get to. Before we do that, let's hit on two hot topics. Dan came in early this weekend and said, hey, here's our two hot topics. Go ahead and prepare your answers. Two pretty good ones. Now, I think the first one, I think we're all going to have the same answer, but maybe not. Maybe Kobe's going to show some love to a different show. Maybe Dan's going to show love to a different event. But I already got my answer for this one. I guess we'll start with Dan. Dan, you got the voice. You're in the batter's box. You're up first. What is your favorite event of the NFL Combine?
Listen, I don't think that any of you are going to have this as your favorite event, but it is mine. And it's probably the most archaic and probably the least relevant. But my favorite is bench press reps. And they don't even televise it that much anymore. But when they do, it's incredible. Like, I believe there was a guy that hit 49 or 50 or something like that this year. If I'm not mistaken, a guy broke it this year. But that's incredible. Like, because just my bench max when I was playing college football was like 315, 320. I mean, I was never a great bencher because my arms are so long. And when I repped out 225, it was like 8 reps, 7 reps. So to watch these guys do 40 plus reps of 225 pounds, I don't think people understand how hard that is. That's incredibly difficult, and I just love watching it. It's pretty much irrelevant these days, but I love watching
it. I think I'm gonna have like a two-parter because I don't know if one of them actually truly counts. But I would say that my favorite has got to be the 40-yard dash. It's so funny to see how big of a deal we all make over these 40-yard dashes in like underwear and a tight-fitting shirt in perfect, conditions. Guys that have been training only to run the 40-yard dash properly over the past couple of months. And it's just always cool to see because it holds so much value. Like your athleticism, the NFL still values athleticism more than anything, more than production at some point, even in college. But then I also have loved that they when they let the quarterbacks, which a lot of the quarterbacks didn't really test this year, but when they let the quarterbacks just throw the deep ball, like 5, 6 step drop, 7 step drop, and just unload one and mark it out like that ball 68 yards in the air. It's just unbelievable to see some of those guys just let it rip and watch it fly.
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off you, especially on receiver day. You come for the 40-yard dash, you stay for the gauntlet. The gauntlet makes or breaks some receivers. If I see you up in there dropping it, go ahead and knock you down the draft board a little bit. Gauntlet's pretty fun to watch. I'm with Kobe though. just watching the Qs just unload it downfield. The Zach Wilson throw specifically, I think that's more of a pro day throw now, where you go in the boot and you just throw it off your. I forget exactly what it was, but Zach Wilson made it, I guess, somewhat famous. Now everyone's trying to copy it. Letting the Qs rip, it's always fun. But I'm here for it. You go for the you come for the 40, you stay for the receiver gauntlet. And I guess they do that for the tight ends and I believe the running backs. I don't remember if the running backs do it or not. Yeah, those are our favorite combine events. Let us know in the comment section what your favorite event of the combine is. I think it's pretty standard right now. I think everyone comes to watch the 40s, like Kobe said, but you stay for the other drills. Specifically, I will say this. Watching the DBs do I forget what they call it, they make you flip your hips and run to each direction, and you break out, go catch the ball, high point it downfield. Malachi Starks did that really well this weekend. That is pretty fun to watch as a whole. Question number 2. Now, this is tough because last year, this question is answered within 5 seconds by all of us. No question. This year, it's going to be tough. So I'm curious to see where y'all go with this one. If one player from UGA's draft class this year goes on to have a Hall of Fame career, who would it be and why? Kobe, we'll switch it up. We'll start with you for this one. Oh, man, he got muted. We got him, boys.
Got him. That's 4 weeks of rust right there. I'm going to go off script a little bit just to be different because, again, we don't discuss this before the show. But I think after the day that Jared Wilson had, center is a really valuable position in the NFL. And we've had some dang good ones that have come through, that have played at a high level here at Georgia, have gone in the NFL, and then kind of had some 50-50 luck on them. David Andrews, free agent that goes and is 2-time Super Bowl champ, I believe, with the Patriots right now. And he's had a great career. But then you kind of go on a Lamont Gilliard, who had a really good career here, just couldn't really get the stick in the NFL. Trey Hill, who had a good career here, didn't really get the stick in the NFL. Cedric Van Paren-Granger, I still think his time's coming with the Bills at center. But Jared Wilson, overly impressed athletically. And then I think that, there are a lot of people looking for a true center. And if you can lock down 10, 12 years at center for the same team, it's kind of like a Kelsey situation where, I think teams now see the value you can add to an offensive line.
And just look at, talking about centers, look at David Andrews. David Andrews was an undrafted free agent signing for the New England Patriots. Been there since 2015. Has been a starter pretty much throughout his entire career. I don't know if he's qualified as a potential Hall of Fame caliber player when his career is said and done. But to Kobe's point, that is the type of run you can go on and have over there at center. This one's tough for me because I have some unconventional answers, and I think they're the long shots, but I won't go with those. I will name those, though. But I'm going to go ahead. Dan let us know in the private chat. Kobe may take his answer there. So I'm going to take Dan's next answer. This is why I'm going second right here. I'm going Malachi Starks. Possibly the best draft prospect in this class for Georgia. Maybe that's a hot take. I think he had, and we'll get into this, I think he had more to lose by working out in Indy than he did to gain, to be quite honest with you. And we'll talk about that when we get to his performance in particular. I'm enamored with him. Had a great career at Georgia. I remember him popping out onto the scene against Oregon with that interception. I can't wait to see what the first few plays of his NFL career look like. If he manages to go out there and show off those insane ball skills and, pulls an interception, maybe 10 plays into his career, I'm really excited to see where he goes, to see what he does. I'm going with Malachi Starks here. Dan, I don't know if I took your answer or your second answer, but I know your first choice is already off the board.
All right, boys, since you guys like to play that game, I'm going to go off script, and I'm going to give you a name that I think has potential to be a really good player. Maybe Hall of Fame is a stretch, but this is just for fun here. I'm going to go Tate Ratledge, and let me tell you why. First of all, he tested extremely well. He's been a fan favorite, and part of being a Hall of Fame player is you kind of have to be a favorite, right? And it seems like everywhere he goes, people love him. So he's got that going for him. He seems like a real team guy. I've never met him. I've never sat in the same room with him. But if you listen to anybody talk about Tate Ratledge, he's the type of guy that you want around. Okay. Again, that's another quality trait that's going to make you stick. And then he's nasty. And the one trait you have to have as an offensive lineman is you have to be nasty. It is not. I know it gets overlooked so much, and to be an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman for that matter, man, it's a nasty position. It's down, it's dirty. You're hitting somebody on every single play. You have a grown ass man in your lap on every single play. I mean, it's tough. Yeah, I know. Whoa, pause. Right, but. I think he has a lot of the things that you look at for a successful offensive lineman. We'll see how it plays out, but I think he has a lot of traits and a lot of qualities to him that will endear him to teammates, endear him to an organization, which will keep him around, and longevity and stuff like that. Those are huge factors to being a Hall of Fame player. So I'm going to go Tate Ratledge.
I'm going to keep this in the back pocket for next year this time because I already got my answer for next year. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Put it out in the ethos. Brett Thorson, my pick. You take him. I know y'all are both special teams gentlemen, which is why I just come out a year early and pre-order that answer right there.
Pause. There's one punter in the Hall of Fame, and it's Ray Guy.
We're adding Brett Thorson to that list. This could be the hot take of 2026. Hopefully. I guess transitioning in, because Dan, you're into Tate Ratledge and Kobe's of Jared Wilson. It's a perfect segue into let's talking about the combine performances as a whole. I put it for this, I guess, this little divide in between the segments of who we're talking about. Let's start with the big humans doing freakazoid things. And what prompted this, not only were there testing, which, my God, I mean, how many drafts in a row now has Georgia had a big human just run something absolutely bonkers in terms of 40 time? Think what? This is the third or fourth year in a row that Georgia's had a 300-plus pounder run sub 4.9, sub 4.85 at this point. Crazy. But today, there was a report from ESPN's Jordan Reed, mock draft analyst over there at ESPN, that said at picks number 39, 41, or 72, you can likely pencil in the Bears drafting a center or guard with positional flexibility to play center. Two of the three players he listed were from Georgia, Jared Wilson and Tate Ratledge. I thought that spoke volumes because I didn't think going into the combine that either Jared Wilson or Tate Ratledge were going to be in the day two conversations. How about you, gentlemen?
Yeah, I thought we're going into the combine. Jared Wilson would definitely be in the day two conversations. I mean, I've seen a lot of people have him as the number one, number two center on the board. I understand that center is not near as valued as some other positions, but we've had some centers in recent history either squeak in right there at that beginning part of the second round, and especially as we start to fall into the third round on day two. I thought that Jared Wilson probably was going to come out as an early to mid third rounder. And I would say testing wise, he would be a value pick at that position. Now I would say that, anything you get him below the end of the second round, you're going to get a steal. And then I would say Tate made him some money. I would say Tate probably was a fourth to fifth round pick. Just if I think about like Jamari Sawyer and some guys like that have played the position before him and where they went, I would say that he's probably made him some money to where he'll be a third round pick as well. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see him as a day two guy.
I think one of the things that makes center a pick that doesn't pop up on a lot of people's boards is that is the type of pick, if you get it right, you set it and forget it. Think about teams that have had great centers, right? If you're able to draft or get a guy into your program, or I guess not program for the NFL, but you know what I mean, into your franchise that's a center, that guy is going to be there for 10 or 15 years. And then you just don't draft one, maybe a backup at some other point. But right, there are so many great centers, and even think about like with the Falcons, the one pick that they got right, Todd McClure, the what is the Cajun Mudcat? Isn't that what Matt Ryan called him? But he was the Atlanta center for 10 years. It's just, and then God Almighty, we had Alex Mack. You put that in our little private chat, but we've had so many great centers here. But Jared Wilson, if he's the type of player that the Bears are able to take in the second, that's why kind of like if you really feel like if that's your guy, a second round pick is 100% worth the chance because that's a set it and forget it type of a pick if you get it right. So I think Kobe laid out in his hot topic there of all the reasons that you would want to take a guy like Jared Wilson, and then a guy like Tate Ratledge as well. The flexibility that he showed at University of Georgia is a great asset to have because it's one of those things where if you get it wrong at one position, but he can play another and he fits there, it's great. Like one of the people that they claim is the all-time bust was oh gosh, I just had it at the tip of my tongue and I lost it. He was a first-round pick, and they took him at tackle, and he ended up kicking inside the guard and played for like 15 years, and he's still considered a bust. But I mean, it's going to come to me later in the show. He was a freakazoid. He was just massive. It wasn't Mike Mamula.
What year are we talking?
It was a long time ago. You probably weren't even born. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you're right. With the Bears, I think they could do a lot worse than either one of those two picks. And then also they've got to protect Caleb Williams. So going offensive lineman early in the draft would not be a bad choice.
I think for me, what really pops off about those two, and this is courtesy of Patrick Garvin over at UGAsports.com with these stats. Jared Wilson became the fastest Georgia offensive lineman in combine history. The second ever lineman to run sub 4.5 in general combine history at 4.84. Then Tate Ratledge is tied with Broderick Jones for the second fastest 40 time by a Georgia offensive lineman at 4.97. We're talking about Broderick Jones, the athletic unicorn that Broderick Jones was on tape in college, being just as fast as Tate Ratledge. Kobe, that blows my mind. Blows my mind.
And I think the thing that most people cannot fathom, because I saw it in a couple of different group chats I'm in when some of the thinner guys ran, but I think it's hard for people to visually see someone running a 4.85 and understanding that's just not a tight end or someone doing that, a linebacker. That's a 330-pound man that moves other men for a living, and how difficult that is to be able to do. I think that we've seen these numbers come out of Georgia, and it's kind of gotten to be more expected from these big men to run really fast in freakish times, but it just doesn't happen. Like you're saying, I mean, Jared Wilson is one of the fastest times ever. I think if I remember right, their relative athletic scores for both of them were inside the top 5 ever recorded at their position. So, I mean, it's not something that you're going to be repeating year in and year out. It's not even really something that we've seen since Kirby's been here as far as that level of athleticism. So, like you said, I still believe that weighs more, that they'll look at the athleticism and what they think and can project 2 to 3 to 4 years from now, those guys can be for an organization than what they can be for them day one when they walk in. And I think that's going to play majorly into them being drafted higher.
Dan, I saw the light bulb come on over there. You got that answer?
No. I found it was the wrong guy.
I saw him light up. He was like
smoke alarm over there. He just beeped, and then
and then he went away. Now he's back to looking for it. The other big man that I put on the list in terms of big humans doing freakazoid things, Tyrann Dawkins. I don't know if he's as high as a riser as a Jared Wilson or a Tate Ratledge this weekend. I mean, the fact that Jared Wilson was put on the list as a potential high second or high day 2 pick is pretty cool. I know Kobe said you saw him going maybe mid to late day 2 in that 3rd round. He's jumped up there, but Tate Ratledge, I think, like you said, right now looks to be the biggest riser of them all, going from a day 3 pick into potentially a day 2 pick now. Because I'm kind of with you. I thought maybe that was a 4th or a 5th round pick right there, and now he jumps up into the 2nd round discussion, at least according to Jordan Reed. But as for Tyrann Dawkins, Dan, you've been here for a little bit. Tyrann Dawkins is a guy I had stock in. Really, really fun guy to watch. Great guy to talk to. in
Man
terms
just
of
talks TID, TID, TID.
TID. Really happy with getting to see him from a full year this past season, and he goes to the combine. I didn't have this guy as a 4.86 40-yard guy. That shocked me. And then he jumped to 10.4 in the broad jump, which was best among the defensive tackles. He was the second fastest defensive tackle. Now, granted, this is a little bit different than, say, a Jordan Davis or Devontae Wyatt, because TID came in at 276 pounds. But still, 6'5", 276, 10 years ago wasn't moving like they do now, for sure. I don't know where his draft stock is after this weekend. I'd be curious. I know some people were saying he was looking like a UDFA guy, which I find hard to believe he was going to go undrafted. But I think after this weekend, if that really was the case, I think he's definitely popped up on some radars over there in Indianapolis.
I found it.
He found it.
This is from the NFL.com. Tony Mandarich, offensive tackle from Michigan State, was quite possibly the best offensive line prospect in the history of the NFL draft. However, his play was not. Pick number 2 overall by the Green Bay Packers, and then out of the league in 6 years because of PEDs.
Okay, so they kicked him inside, but it wasn't like he went on play at a high level and got.
Don't I remember that's the infamous draft where 2 Hall of Famers, 3 Hall of Famers, 4 Hall of Famers were drafted inside the top 5, and he was the other pick.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. I was trying to do that math. I think it's the 5. I think out of the top 5 picks, 4 of them were Hall of Famers, and then it was him.
That's tough. That's tough sledding, man.
It's like being drafted before Michael Jordan or Kevin Durant in terms of just you're going to go down in history as a terrible pick.
Do you know who it was that was picked in front of Michael Jordan?
It was the Blazers pick. I forget exactly what the guy's name was. But it was the Blazers. I know it was the Blazers for Jordan, and then it was who was it over KD? It was Greg Oden over KD, wasn't it? Was it the Blazers both times? Both times?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn.
Manute Bol was the pick. It wasn't Manute Bol. It was
Here, I'm about to look it up. I'm about to see the name. Yep. Dan, you're the NBA guy. Damn it.
He was a 7-footer.
Sam Bowie. It was Hakeem and then Sam Bowie.
Yeah, well, I don't think they got Hakeem wrong.
No, definitely not. Definitely ain't gonna judge you for that one. Sam Bowie was the other one.
I'm sorry, I derailed your show.
No, you're good. You're good. I wanted you to find it. Otherwise, you're gonna be looking for it for the rest of the show. So I'm glad we got it 20 minutes in instead before we get our blind draft. Where you want to go next? Because we could do skill guys. I know Trevor Etienne was a guy when I was in the press box for baseball. When I heard he hit a 4.42 with a stumble, was pretty cool. I think the guy that's become, I think we talked about it earlier in terms of the second hot topic question. He's been a hot topic here recently. Malachi Starks. I've seen people label Malachi Starks as a loser of the NFL scouting combine. A loser after in a 4.5 flat 40-yard dash time. Yes, that ranks 10th among safeties, but gentlemen, maybe it's just me, but yeah, I don't think this is really going to affect him at all.
Go ahead, Kobe, because I'm a homer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that at some point the play, the tape, how he plays the position, his intelligence level, his personality, how he's going to, do in a locker room, in a meeting room, being coached. I just think it outweighs how he ran on one certain day. That's the hard thing is, right, the 40-yard dash can make you reach on a guy that maybe you shouldn't have, and it can also make you weary of a guy that maybe you shouldn't have been weary on. And I think you've seen that year in and year out. NFL GMs, sometimes they for whatever reason, always want to be the smartest man in the NFL. Year in and year out, they want to find something, tweak something, discover something that either talks them into a pick or talks them out of a pick. And I worry that Malachi Stark's going to be that prospect this year that people are trying to talk themselves out of more and more. Which, hey, for Malachi, the farther you fall in that first round, unfortunately, the more of a chance you're going to be drafted by a legitimate contender, somebody that's going to be contending quickly. And not a rebuilding team, but we'll see. I think the joke right now is don't let him fall to pick 32 for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I don't think he falls that far. I would be quite shocked. I would think that, by pick 20, 25, he would be up and gone.
Listen, I know the Falcons don't take Georgia players. I know that's a thing. The highest drafted player ever by the Atlanta Falcons was Akeem Dent in the 3rd round. That's insane. But they talk about it 24/7 on Atlanta sports radio, so it's like it's not a hard pull for me. But like Jesse Bates is one of the best safeties in the NFL, and if you were to pair him up with Malachi Starks, I mean, you're putting Malachi in such a great position. I understand the Falcons have other needs, but listen, to Kobe's point, and he's 100% right. These GMs can talk themselves out of anything. Listen, a real conversation that was had last year was there was a picture of Brock Bowers standing next to Gronk, and they said he can't play tight end in the NFL because he's too small. Gronk is a once-in-a-generation type tight end. Like, he is not human. He is an android. And so, but that is a God's honest truth that there were GMs that saw that picture and said he couldn't play tight end.
And then the problem is there are habits, right? Like, obviously, Falcons took Kyle Pitts at 4. Kyle Pitts has the 1,000-yard season as a rookie, but just never pans out per where he was drafted in production value. I mean, I think knowing what you knew about Brock Bowers right now, I'm not sure he's not a top 5 pick.
Right, and then the other thing too is Kyle Pitts just doesn't love football, and that's one of those things where it's hard to know that. Like, you have to really get to know somebody to know that. So I don't know why that's so funny, but
I'm laughing at Kobe. Kobe over there spit out his drink.
That was just such a random pull. The problem with Kyle Pitts, he just doesn't love the game.
That's not my opinion. So
it was just funny.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Afterwards, the Michael Mayer discussion. Oh, we already got Michael Mayer. We don't need Brock Bowers. Well, Michael Mayer's on the trade block now.
I was about to say, his ass on the trade block. Who wants Michael Mayer?
Yeah, wants Kyle Pitts. Come get him.
1 for 1. Michael Mayer for Kyle Pitts.
I'll do it right now. Listen, so one of the biggest takeaways for me, and I know that I'm kind of going out of order here. What has been our biggest gripe all year long is that our wide receivers can't catch. And then, like, Dominic Lovett and Arian Smith look freaking amazing in the gauntlet, like Harrison's favorite drill, the gauntlet. And they're just out here just ripping that shit. Like, they look like they have the greatest hands in the history of the world. They look like Willie Galt running through the damn combine. I was like, I'm watching it on my computer at work, and I was just like, when are they going to drop one? And they didn't. They looked amazing. I was going to ask you guys. I know there's not really a good time, but like, do you really feel like there's a chance that Carson just didn't throw a catchable ball? Like, it's not that he doesn't throw it. Like, it's not that he doesn't put it where it needs to be, but maybe just not a catchable ball. Do you think that's the thing? Is that a possibility?
Kobe, I'll let you go first here. I'm curious what your take is, because you're the closest to having seen him in person. I believe correct me if I'm wrong, you've seen him in person.
Yeah. I'm going to punt this and say that I never played a position that required you to be able to catch the ball. So I do not feel qualified to tell you what is and is not a catchable ball. I would say there was some issue last year with our quarterback and receivers and the ability to get the ball from one player's hands to the others. But, I think that, again, the NFL draft process, the reason it's a process is you have to look at things that have been put on tape. You have to look at things that are habits, things that have occurred. And then you also have to, those scouts are going to do some digging in locker rooms saying, hey, man, you looked amazing in Indianapolis in a pair of underwear with nobody coming your way. What happens when you have on, helmet, shoulder pads, quarterbacks having to throw you a ball in a tight window? You're still going to stick yourself in there, catch this ball, and go get us 13, 14 yards. I think both of those guys have done that plenty in their career. I agree. I just think why the struggles this year? Can they point a direction? But that's not for me to decide. That's why we're talking here on this podcast.
There is, I will say, Din's not the only one that was very prevalent on social media during the receivers' time through the combine. It was, what the hell was going on offensively for Georgia? That is the question I think everyone's asking right now. What was there a disconnect? I think it's safe to say there probably was a disconnect. Now, I don't know what that is. I'd be curious in terms of from a Georgia perspective for this year, as Georgia goes into, I guess, a spring and a fall where there's is it a pseudo quarterback competition? Maybe we'll come back next week and talk about that. Is this a competition? Is it not a competition? What's going on at quarterback? How does Georgia and its quarterbacks connect with those receivers going into the next season? Because, I mean, guys, it was pretty public knowledge that Carson took a group of receivers down to Florida, I believe over the summer, to go work out with them. And it was pretty common. I know those guys, Kobe, you've been in the program. During the off times when there's not spring practice, there's not fall camp, before that starts, there's 7v7 work with non-coaches on the field, and those guys are playing together. I don't know what went wrong there. But as Kobe kind of mentioned, it is, like you said, different. The underwear Olympics is much different from real football because the underwear Olympics is still not even close to flag football in terms of, I guess, competitiveness and difficulty. It's a great question, Dan. And I think that's probably a question that NFL evaluators are probably asking themselves as they dive into those two. Was it all right in terms of those two specifically in their performance? Dom Lovett, 4.4, flat. Great time for him. Didn't think that was going to be his time. 4.36 for Arian. I don't know. I was expecting a little bit faster from Arian. Not to say that's not a great time for Arian, but I was like, man, because is this man about to be, this was one of the fastest guys that has come through Georgia's program. Like, he's about to absolutely run, especially with his track background. I thought this dude was about to just blow it up. Maybe not blow the record, beat the record, but this man's about to run maybe sub 3 or 4.35.
So I think you're 100% right. I think the fact that Arian ran a 4.36 surprises me more than, I'm saying it wrong. Dom running a 4.4 was more impressive to me than him running a 4.36 because I thought there was a shot, and maybe I'm just completely a lunatic, which is quite possible. The Arian would be closer to that, like almost like a 4.2, like a 4.29, or a 3.11 or 4. You know what I mean? A 4.31.
3.11. I'd take him tomorrow.
Number 1 overall, no questions asked.
I don't give a damn if I got to spray glue on his hands. 3.11.
Damn it, boy. Yeah, but I thought Dominic had an absolutely fantastic day, period.
I agree. I think that, I'd be interested to hear what Arian has to say in his training. If he was seeing numbers comparable to that, I would have thought that he would have been in the high 4.2s, 4.29, 4.28, 4.30 flat kind of thing. And we're talking about milliseconds. That's the hard thing, right? Is the difference between a 4.35 and 4.4 is, that, just that fast almost. So it is difficult to put that value, but I feel like Arian has always looked extremely fast on the field, even compared to some other speedsters that we've had. If you think about him and you think about Dom and you think about how they look on the field, how they look in separation and routes and go balls and different things, to think that they were almost ran the exact same 40 time doesn't really compute in the football speed of things, in my opinion. It's kind of like, Zamir White. Do I remember, did he run a faster 40 time than James Cook? Just barely, I think. I think one of them ran a 4.40 and then he ran a 4.44.
Zamir White went a 4.4 flat. Look at you pulling that out. I didn't even remember that.
Yeah. So again, like somebody, James Cook, who everybody thinks, he's this fast, elusive speed back that we have, and Zamir's this big, rumbling, tumbling power back that we have. And then you get out there and Zamir runs faster than James. just doesn't always translate on the field or what we see or what we expect.
200 of a second faster. James Cook ran a 4.42. Zamir White had a 4.4 flat. Zamir White ran just as fast as Dominic Lovett, to put that in perspective. That was pretty cool. I guess, and we've had this conversation on the show before about running backs. It seems like size is always a factor with running backs nowadays, which is weird because as Dan likes to remind us, there's been small running backs that have gone on to have successful careers. And Trevor Etienne came in at 5'8", 185 pounds, I believe it was. Ran a 4.42, which with a stumble, which I thought was awesome. Absolutely flying. But this is what really, I think, hammered it home in terms of, hey, he might not be the fastest running back in the class in terms of 40 time, but he had the second fastest, tie for the second fastest 10-yard split at 1.51, which I thought was a really good time for Trevor Etienne. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this man goes. I don't know if he's bumped his draft stock up. I assume, Kobe, Dan, maybe y'all see differently. I assume this is still a day 3 pick right here in Trevor Etienne. I don't know if he's pushed himself in that day 2 stratosphere yet.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if he will.
He doesn't have enough. To me, he doesn't have enough good tape, and he has too many injury questions. You know, he definitely would have, in my opinion, still. I mean, what do I know? But in my opinion, he would have been better off coming back for one more year, even if he didn't think that was at Georgia. I mean, that's what just blows my mind now is like with the unlimited portal with NIL, like why not come back? And if you weren't happy with the situation here, you didn't think we were running the ball well enough, like the world's your oyster. You have 130 other football programs you could go be running back at.
Can I tell you why? Tread on the tires. I mean, you're a running back. You only have you have a what's the word I'm looking for? You have a set amount, a finite amount of carries in your body. And one more year in college, I just think it makes it harder. And I think the NFL teams would probably look down on you a little bit more. I don't think you're wrong. He would benefit from that, but at the same time, is it worth it to have that wear and tear on your body? And I always say the one position that I'm never upset about when they leave early is running back. Because look at Marcus Lattimore, whatever his name was, the South Carolina running back. I mean, he was arguably one of the greatest running backs I've seen in college in a long, long time, and then his career is completely ruined. So I get that part of it. But the other thing too is, did he elevate himself past day 3? I think it's difficult for a lot of different reasons to move up in the draft as a running back. And none of which are more important than I don't really feel like the NFL values a running back that much. When you have a running back like Saquon Barkley, that's amazing. But not a lot of teams want to put value into that. Look at the New York Giants. They had him. They knew how good he was. And then they made a decision, Joe Shane, way to go, to let him go. And the Eagles had the money to sign him. God bless them. But it's like running back is a luxury that a lot of teams can't afford because they're having to spend all the money on their wide receivers. But I don't know. I just think it's just an undervalued position at this point in the NFL, and you have to be really special to waste, in their opinion, one of those high draft picks.
And I think the last thing I'll leave this off on, and it's always just a number standpoint. Yeah, I know there's some comp picks, so maybe it's closer to 100, but roughly 96 picks in the first 3 rounds. I mean, you basically have to be one of the top 100 players in the world. Right. I just don't think that that's quite where he's at, at this point.
And that's not disrespectful either.
No. And I think the other factoring in this, I believe Matt Miller was the one that said he has 10 running backs in this class with draftable grades. 10? Oof. Pretty deep class over there at running back. I assume Trevor is one of those. If I'm not mistaken, I'd be shocked he isn't with a draftable grade. Gentlemen, I will be, assuming everything goes to plan, next week I will be at the facility for Pro Day. Excited about that. What I'm not excited about is the fact we won't ever get to see Jalen Walker run pre-draft. We won't ever get a 40 time with Jalen Walker. He has a thigh issue that popped up during his training, suffered an injury. Not sure if that's exactly why he didn't work out in the combine. I don't know when they discovered this. I assume that decision not to work out the combine was made long, long ago. But assuming everything sticks to plan, we will see Michael Williams work out at Pro Day. I know there will be a lot of folks interested to see how he runs over there at Pro Day. Kobe, I want your take because I was over there recently for an assignment. How is the indoor facility? Is it a faster field? Is it slower? Like what's the take? Because I know some people say Indy is a little bit of a slower grind in terms of turf field.
Yeah, I think obviously I wasn't breaking any records running for sure. I always thought the indoor was good. I mean, they've re-turfed it one time, I know, since I've been there. It's pretty springy. The problem is with that sponginess also comes that you sink down in it a little bit. But the hard thing is again, if they're hand timing at pro days, it's always my thing is like, yeah, you ran a really good time at pro day. It was hand timed. It's unofficial, whatever. You just never know what that can do for you. It's like if Arian Smith runs at pro day and runs a 4.29 hand time, which one are you going to look at if you're an NFL team? The time that he ran the 4.35 laser to laser, or the time that your scout went out there and he clicked him on the hand timer at 4.29?
Well, Georgia runs laser at the pro day. Or are you just talking about a scout in general that might be there?
I mean, are we officially running laser? I know in years past we've kind of been split on it. I know that there have been years where we don't run any kind of lasers at pro days.
Huh.
I don't remember, to be quite honest with you. I've watched it on TV, but that is a great question. But I do know for sure there will be scouts there with hand times. For sure.
And they take them either way. Like even if we do have lasers, I mean, scouts still take hand times and compare them. So it's very funny to watch. Harrison, you're going to have a good time if you've never been to a pro day. It's quite comical because as one position group gets done doing one thing, private workouts are occurring in the background and stuff constantly. Just kind of funny.
It's also going to be cool to see who shows up who returns to Georgia to run out of pro day. Someone that's gone to a smaller school, for a little bit, transferred out and comes back to work out in front of those bigger schools, in front of the scouts. So it'll be cool to see who does come back this year for Georgia's pro day. I know they have had people return in the past.
I got an interesting one that I would keep an eye on, and you'll have to let me know. Clay Webb. Damn it!
I knew exactly where you were going with that.
Nice.
Got him over there at the combine. Dan was texting in chat about that over the weekend about Clay Webb over at the combine in Indy.
Cool. I didn't even see. I didn't watch enough combine. Did he run well?
Dan, you remember?
Here's the problem. Jared Wilson was going right after him.
Ooh.
So everything that he did was overshadowed by everything that Jared Wilson did right after him. But he didn't look terrible.
Which is crazy because Clay Webb was this. Yeah, Clay Webb was the prospect coming out of high school, like
5-star center,
the prospect,
and the guy, and a freak athlete too.
The guy, yeah, 5'11" with a 1.72 10-yard split. Had 29 reps on the bench press over there in Indianapolis.
Would have liked a little bit more, okay?
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
Yeah, gentlemen, we have
blind draft time.
It is. We have more than enough time to do two. So, Dan, let's start with the topical one first, and then we will hit your – actually, go ahead. You can go ahead and re-explain the rules. I'll go ahead and get the Google Doc set up for us tonight.
All right. So, the blind draft is we are going to present you a topic. You are not going to know you will know the topic, and then you'll have 5 picks, and I will give them to you, and you won't know in which order I'm going to give them to you. Today's is I am not including any of the players in the last 2 or 3 drafts because their careers have not played out. I am going to give you 5 names where they were anywhere from a fringe first-round pick to a second, third, or fourth-round pick that catapulted themselves into a top 10 to top 5 pick in the NFL draft because of their combine performance. So you are going to draft combine performances by guys who catapulted their performance from outside the fringe first-round pick to a top 5 pick. and I will give you a couple details from each person so you're not doing this completely numb, okay? Because you're not going to know probably all of these. The first name is Trent Williams. This is in 2010. You know who he is. He's gone on to have a really excellent NFL career. He was considered to be a day 2 pick, possibly sneaking into the first round. He was 6'4", 315 pounds. He ran a 4.8 140, and then he had a short shuttle of 4.63 and a 34.5-inch vertical and a 9.5-foot broad jump. So where would you rate that draft combine performance for Trent Williams?
Kobe, you want to go first here?
Yeah, I'll go first. Here we go. And where did he end up getting drafted at?
Number 4 overall.
Top 5.
Nice. I'm going with 2 because he's a future Hall of Famer. I like the big fella.
Yeah, future Hall of Famer. Went from fringe first round. You said this was a day 2 guy that jumped all the way to the 4th overall pick. 4th overall pick.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Man. Yeah, I'll go with 2 because I'm trying to rack my brain for someone who else may be coming, but I can't think of anyone else right at the moment.
And I'm just going to let you guys know that all of these guys were top 5 picks, so I'm not going to throw like a crappy one at you, okay? So I'm not going to screw you.
Yeah.
All right. 2012 defensive tackle, weighed over 300 pounds. His name was Dontari Poe. This man was projected to be a second-round pick at 346 pounds. He ran a 4.8 940. He became the fastest 40 for a man over 340 pounds in NFL combine history. That catapulted him up into the top 5. He also repped out 44 reps on 225.
Okay. I'll go first here. So you said all these guys are top 5 picks.
Right.
I am trying to remember if John Ross is going to be on this list. I don't remember where John Ross is. You don't have to tell me. Please don't tell us. I'll have to figure it out. Dontari Poe. Man, I remember watching Dontari Poe in the pros. I remember seeing him specifically toward the end of his career. Wasn't impressed. Do I put him in the 5 hole? Do I go ahead and burn the 5 hole here? Man, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say Dontari Poe is at number 4. I don't know who's coming next, but John Ross is going to be, if he was top 5, I don't remember if he was, he's going to be competing for that top spot in terms of biggest risers.
And so just to clarify, since you said that, we're talking about people or ranking them compared on like their career that they've had.
No. There's no real thing here. It's just you're ranking their combine performances. So this is a guy who was not a consensus top 10 pick, and then his combine catapulted him up there. So we're talking about guys who the combine really helped him more than the other people.
Okay, perfect. I'm also gonna go with 4 for now, just to kind of play it safe on 44 reps on the bench press is insane.
That 40 times is pretty insane for Dontari Poe. Did not think he was that fast.
This next player had a horrible NFL career.
This is John Ross.
No, but he absolutely got the attention of one NFL owner. May he rest in peace. In 2009, Darius Hayward-Bay was big, fast, and strong. Nobody had him as a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He came in and ran a 4.25 40, and Al Davis could not get to the podium fast enough to draft this guy. So he was clocked at 23.4 miles per hour, the second fastest time to Chris Johnson. He passed it a 38.5-inch vertical and a 10.6 broad jump, and he also posted a 4.18 short shuttle. This man's combine was insane.
Kobe, leave your first here.
Darius Hayward-Bay.
So I'm still a little iffy. I'm thinking that based off of how we're ranking these people, because I really can't ever recall this gentleman playing a lot of football. I would say he should be my number one pick because going from, I don't know really much about this man, and maybe that's bad on me for not knowing, but I would say with that impressive man, 4.25.
4.25.
Line. How much do you weigh?
It doesn't have his weight. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I'm going with one here because I think that's the point of the way we're ranking things is this guy, he should have been absolute dog water, and he ran a 4.25. And I mean, I don't know if I could have got to the podium fast enough.
Man, this goes back to the discussion of Kobe telling Dan, if he wins 3-1, just take my draft pick. Just go ahead and take it. I don't know if I want to burn my number one spot. And for the sake of being different, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna put him at number 3. I don't like you, Kobe. I don't remember this gentleman. Don't ever remember seeing him play. Which probably makes him worthy at number one spot, but I'm gonna hold out hopes that there's somebody else that just completely ridiculously just underwear Olympic gold medalist that's coming in for that number one spot.
You're holding out for John Ross. I mean, basically.
Maybe. Basically.
So I have this next one you guys may not remember. Harrison may not have been born. 2006. This was probably the first freak tight end. His name was Vernon Davis.
Ooh.
Vernon Davis was 245 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, 6'5" or 6'6". He was one of the most beautiful human beings sculpted you've ever seen. Ran a 4.38 40 at tight end, the 4.17 short shuttle, 42 bench press on 225, and a 42-inch vertical. And then he topped it off with a 10.8 broad jump. Vernon Davis, folks.
I'm going first here. I already put him in, already filled him in. He's number 1 for me. I remember Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis was on that 49ers team, was also the infamous can't coach him, can't be coached.
Yep.
Guy. Yeah, number 1 for me. The tight end, just doing elite things at the combine. Went on to have a really good career. Maybe not Hall of Fame career, but in terms of the guy so far, he's definitely probably so far the number 2 most successful player of the people on this list. Maybe arguably him and Poe are number 2, but right now, Trent Williams number 1. Kobe, where are you putting Vernon Davis?
I'm going to go ahead and slide him in on the 3, and we're going to just put whoever's left at the 5. Hopefully, Dan didn't kill us both here.
He might have. We'll see.
Well, I had a name at number 5. I did not use him. I consulted with my guy, Jonathan Williams, interrupted him doing his afternoon show. And I said, hey, listen, this is who I'm going to slide in at number 5. And he's like, why don't you do this one? So my number 5 was going to be, but it's not. It was going to be Deion Sanders because this man showed up to the NFL Combine, borrowed a pair of shoes, ran a sub 4.240, if you believe the rumors, and then left in a limo and didn't talk to a single person. That is the most drop the mic 40 I've ever. But anyway, so Jonathan told me to take him out. That's not right. So we're going to put in a guy that none of us knew was going to go number 1 until the NFL Combine, and that would be Trayvon Walker from University of Georgia. The number 1 overall pick was not a consensus top 5 pick prior to the Combine and catapulted himself to the number 1 overall pick. So
Kobe.
I'm happy with where I have.
I may have threw you guys a monkey wrench, but I think you guys did a good job.
I think so
Trayvon Walker is number 5.
Yeah. I think based off of thinking, have I ever heard of this person? Have I heard of them as a college athlete or as a professional athlete? I think I should have flipped Dontari Poe and Trent Williams. Right. And probably Trent Williams should have been 5 because, Trayvon Walker, hasn't had the career yet. I think Trayvon Walker probably will end up being a phenomenal defensive end. Got a long way to go to be a Hall of Famer. That's tough about Trent. But as far as Hayward Bay and Dontari Poe would have probably been 1 and 2 there.
Yeah.
Well, I was very proud of you guys. I like your lists. I think
where
Kobe.
are you going with your list, Dan? If you had to pick.
Oh, so for me, Darius Haywood Bay would be number one, and Vernon Davis would be number two, and then I would go Poe three, and then I would go Williams four and Trayvon four and Williams five, because I don't. I mean, I can't transport myself back to 2010, but I think people really liked Trey. I think people really liked Williams, and I think he was going to be a first round pick. But that combine did propel him into the top five. But like Darius Haywood Bay was not all-time wide receiver in college. So I love I think you guys did a really good job. I think you guys got the gist of it, and thank you for playing along.
Darius Haywood Bay is going to be my homework tonight because, by God, I don't remember this man at all. And when you search him up on Google, one of the first pictures that comes up is Khalil Mack. Google doesn't even know who the hell we're talking about right now. Yeah, crazy. I wonder what he's up to now. Do we know any idea on what Darius Haywood Bay is up to now?
Tune in next Wednesday to find out.
Tune in next Wednesday to find out. There we go. Great promotion. Dan has a second blind draft for us, but we're gonna save it for next week. We've had some things pop up. Dan, keep that in the back pocket. Write it down somewhere, so we don't forget it, so we can use it next week. Blind drafts is the one segment that when we have one, no one forgets what it is. Like, not gonna forget it. It's the one segment you can pencil in. You may not need to write it down. We're always going to remember what our idea was for the blind draft because it is one of our favorite segments on the show. Gentlemen, it's going to wrap it up for episode 148 of the Top Dog Talk podcast. Again, I'm your host, Harris Arena, alongside me co-host Dan Kiley, Kobe Piers. Boys, we'll be back next Wednesday, 7:30, with, I guess, some more Pro Bowl reaction, more Underwear Olympics reaction. I guess this is the Underwear Regionals, if you want to call it that, instead of the Underwear Olympics. We'll bring some reactions to that. And I guess spring practice starts next Tuesday, gentlemen. Believe it or not. Spring practice starts next Tuesday. Football is still far away, but we're getting closer with each passing day. Anyways, make sure to like, subscribe for more of the Top to Top podcast. We are available on YouTube, all of your podcast platforms. We appreciate you for being here tonight. Go follow them on Twitter, as it says here at the bottom, at Harris Arena, at Dan Kiley 3, at Kobe Piers. We'll see you back next week. Kobe, Dan. Oh, hold up. We got one more thing of business to take care of here, Dan, before we hit that cue. Our man Kobe is turning, I forget, I won't reveal your age on the show. It's his birthday tomorrow, gentlemen. Let's give him a Top Dog Talk. Happy birthday. Another year older, sir. Happy birthday to you. He came in here on his birthday eve and cranked out a show. We appreciate you, dude. Hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow. We don't know what your plans are. Maybe we'll talk about that off cam. You don't have to reveal on here now. Happy birthday to Kobe. Blessed to have you here on the Top Dog Talk podcast.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, here's your cue, boys.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.